Morning, guys. Welcome to Coffee Chat. Wow, we are supposed to, I guess, get some major thunderstorms out this way later on today, but right now it's just kind of raining. We have had a little bit of thunder, but not a whole lot. But it's kind of a nice pitter-patter rain. Now, having said that, the noise that I'm getting around here is a lot of construction noises. I'm hearing all these big machines and making all their noises there. And it's kind of interesting because, of course, you move out to the country because you think, wow, I'm going to get some peace and quiet. But the problem with that is everybody else is thinking the same thing. And so what happens is, they all come out and start building up all their places and whatnot. And, you get all that noise. And my neighbor over here, heck, it took him pert near a year plus until he finally kind of settled down, got everything that he wanted to do built. But hopefully these guys will get their stuff done and they'll enjoy it, and we will have the peace and quiet that we actually came out here to get. Anyway. Well, guys, I was reading a really interesting article. Now, as we all know, there is a major push on the whole climate change issue around the world. And of course, this is being used in a way actually to bring in certain levels of controls and, things that, are not democratic, that autocratic type of things that we see. And so there's an article out there right now that academics are debating and encouraging governments to employ World War II style rationing on food and fuel in order to combat climate change. I mean, we have literally heard it all. You have California out there saying, by 2030, we're not going to have any combustion vehicles, new ones, sold in the state of California. I'm thinking to myself, oh, really? Just this last summer, when the heat was going wild, they were having power outages and grid going down because people were, putting up their air conditioning units. Can you imagine what the amount of people and vehicles in the state of California by 2030 plugging in? I mean, I don't think the grid will ever be up. I mean, with that kind of volume. And so it kind of says to me, hey, look, there might be all these rideshare programs, and yep, you guessed it, they exactly came out with that, this whole idea that personal vehicle ownership is actually going to be so discouraged, and they're going to make it very, very tough for people to do that. And you got the WEF encouraging governments all around the world to do that as well. So now these guys are turning around saying, oh, well, we need to ration food permanently and fuel now in order to combat climate change. And guys, the way I look at this is just a political agenda, because who doesn't it affect? Well, it certainly doesn't affect the people pushing the agenda, does it? They're still flying into Davos on their Lear jets. They're still driving around in their Bentleys. They're still doing all this kind of stuff. No, it's for all of us people out here. In fact, that's how they view us, guys. The way in which our governments are behaving and acting, it's an imposition. They impose everything. They don't go out there and try to get consensus. They're not going back to their constituents to find out, hey, what do you guys think and feel? What's your attitude on this and that? Which normally is supposed to happen, right, in a democratic society where you have democratic elected officials. No, what they're doing is they're imposing all this stuff. And the reality is they just look at us as sheeple. In fact, the level of disregard and disrespect that they actually show, the voters and, the constituents in the countries, it is absolutely obscene. Those of us that have lived long enough to know what the past had. Remember, and I'm not trying to put the young folks down at all. What I'm trying to explain there is context. A lot of folks weren't around. A lot of these young people in their 30s, they weren't around like when we were young. And they can't even really see what the difference truly is because they never experienced it. And if things keep going the way that they're going, what you're going to have is the next generation completely won't even recognize what genuine liberty even looks like. Why? They will have never tasted it in their entire life. Because the way things are now, with acquiescing to all of these autocratic type of policies, forcing people to do things that they may not want to do, limiting the amount and quality of food. I mean, they're out there attacking the whole meat industry, and, they want us to actually not eat meat whatsoever, eat bugs instead. and on and on and on it goes. And this is just another example of these academics, these high-minded individuals, small minority of people making decisions for what they think is best for all the rest of us, because of course we don't have the ability to make those decisions on our own. And hey, this mass majority of people, well, they're all wrong, and we've got to set them straight. We've got to save them, don't you know? That's the kind of nonsense attitude that is coming out. And this kind of thing. And guys, that's when we have to actually stand up and say, absolutely no way. It is a we the people kind of deal. And we got to get out there and let these, big time politicians and all of these elitist groups know that, look, there's a whole lot more of us than there are of you. And you want to keep pushing and poking the bear, eventually people are going to wake up and say, it is enough. Hey, why don't we go and ask the French how it worked out for them when Marie Antoinette and all of them were talking about, well, let them eat cake if they can't eat bread. That didn't turn out so good, did it? Well, I'm telling you what, guys, this is kind of where they're pushing the world. And I think in some ways, that is exactly what they want to do. So here we are again, dealing with the same old stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, if we don't stand up now and we don't start speaking up now and we don't start putting a halt to this now, then basically we have literally forfeited the liberty of our children and our grandchildren down the world. I mean, what is this country coming to? That we will literally allow people to openly deceive and defraud the American people and across other countries across the world as well. And when you call them out on it and you catch them at it, and they're actually found with their hand right there in the cookie jar, well, they're kind of like, well, it wasn't so bad, So what if Pelosi got caught standing there in his underwear with his so-called assailant and third party in the room? It's like, blah, 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 blah. And on and on and on it goes. It's just absolute nonsense. And there's got to be an accountability. These people have actually signed up for jobs where there is an oath of office. Remember that? Well, it sounds like to me, especially when you saw, Elizabeth Warren colluding with Gary Gensler, both of them, bang, should be right out the door so fast. Let me ask you this. How many of you out there working for your employer, would get caught with their hand in the till or actually doing something disingenuous and dishonest, like what, Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler did in that capacity, and still be able to hold on to that job? Ask yourself. And hey, what about all the underlings? Because I'll tell you what, I spent 25 years as a civil servant myself. I can tell you, if I had stepped out, look, if I had falsified one expense report to the tune of maybe even $5, I would have lost my security clearance and lost my job doing it. But these guys can do absolutely whatever they please with in total impunity and no consequences whatsoever. It really I better stop. It's going to make my blood boil. Anyway, guys, look, I sure hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. It's hump day, middle of the week. We've already got through a good half of it, and the next half is going to be just fantastic. It's going to be a good one. Anyway, until later on today, guys, I have a fantastic video planned for you, and I sure hope that you have a good one. And by the way, drop your comments down in there about what you're seeing when you read all these articles and what's coming out. I mean, do we really believe that it's that bad that now we have to be put on World War II rationing for food and fuel for probably, who knows, an indefinite amount of time? That's what it looks like, but I want to hear what you have to say. So, hey, until later on today, I sure hope you have a fantastic one, and take care.